it is personal. I mean, and I take that very seriously because it's so personal to these business owners. There's not a big division line between a business owner and their business. Especially for the smaller businesses, the family owned. Take, for example, if I have a loan application for a startup, and I'm taking it to the loan committee that day. If I'm having an off day or if I'm not giving it 100% and their loan doesn't get approved, that's the difference between them becoming a small business owner and not becoming a small business owner. That's, changing the course of their life, of their livelihood.
Welcome to Jefferson Parish Pulse, powered by JEDCO, a podcast designed to showcase the businesses, organizations, and individuals that make up the heartbeat of the Jefferson Parish economy. I'm Kelsey Scram. We are officially back with Season 4 of the Jefferson Parish Pulse podcast. This season is all about JEDCO's financing options and the many borrowers who have used our loan programs to start their businesses, grow their businesses, expand, renovate, and seriously achieve their dreams. It sounds cheesy, but when you start hearing from the business owners who have worked with JEDCO and you hear how these loans have helped them, you'll absolutely get what we mean. We're kicking off the season with an introduction to JEDCO's loan programs, how they work, who is eligible, all the details to help you understand what we offer and how our loan programs can help your business. I'm excited to have our Director of Finance, Jennifer Lapperouse, on the show to talk through all of this with us today. Jennifer came to JEDCO in 2017 and transformed our finance department into the powerhouse that it is today. Under her leadership, loans jumped up 300% from 2018 to 2020. She's been recognized by City Business as a Woman of the Year class of 2020. She also helped to develop the SBA 504 ad campaign, which recently took home an award from the International Economic Development Council. Today on the show, we talk to Jennifer about the loan programs that we offer, what drives her, and why she takes each loan so personally. She's an amazing advocate for the business community, and this discussion is a really important one to have before we introduce you to our borrowers later this season. So sit back, relax, and enjoy this conversation with Jennifer Lapperouse. Well, Jennifer, thank you so much for being on the show. We are so excited to have you. I know you and I have talked about doing this for quite some time, so it's really exciting to finally have you on the Jefferson Parish Pulse.
Well, thank you. I'm excited to be here.
I think for our listeners, it would be really good to give folks a little bit of an introduction into who you are, what you do. You joined JEDCO in 2017 as our finance manager. Now you're a finance director. Tell us a little bit about what you were doing before joining the JEDCO team.
I've been called many things, but it's all basically a commercial lender, a business development officer, a business banker. And I've done that for several banks, for SunTrust, for BB&T, and that was before they were combined, down to a de novo bank in Miami, so a small startup bank, up to the largest national bank, Bank of America. And that's pretty much what I've done my entire career. And then in 2008, the bottom fell out, so to speak, of the banking industry. And I moved to service commercial loans that were taken over under the FDIC loss share agreement. So I got to sort of see behind the curtains of several commercial lending departments. And, that's kind of an invaluable experience that I've taken with me to my banks that I worked for after that and to JEDCO, because I've certainly seen what makes a commercial loan team or department run well. And, and what can also, lead to their failure. So that's sort of where I've come from.
What drew you to finance? What interests you about this work?
I just love spreadsheets and giant calculators. Well, okay, so my family they're all basically in this industry. My mom worked for Merrill Lynch for 50 years. My dad was a CEO of a financial institution. My stepmom was a business banker or commercial lender. My brother is what is his little genius doing right now? like a financial analyst or investment banker. And so it's kind of just what they're good at, and it seemed to be what I was good at, and kind of took it from there.
I love that so much. And I actually we've been working together for quite some time, and I did not know that. That's really, really cool. What drew you to Jedco? What made you want to join the Jedco team?
Well, so I used to, when I was all of those different names for a commercial lender, I did a lot of 504 loans and was very successful in doing that. And I just thought it was the greatest product ever, and it's improved so much since I was doing those 15 years ago, the loan program. And I always kind of wanted to do it from the other side, if you will. So do it, facilitate that program as the CDC and really, make it a full-time role to promote that program. Because before coming to Jedco, I had participated in so many success stories and startups and businesses that would not be there if it weren't for the 504 loan program. So that's a very limited role. So when I saw that, I could not submit my resume fast enough.
I love that. And we are going to talk about that in just a few seconds here. But, and I definitely want to share, as I mentioned, the success of that program and what you have brought to the table here in just a little bit. But before we get too much further, I'd love to give people an understanding of what these programs are, the 504, the JedGrow. What are these loans and who are we targeting?
So Jedco's finance team their mission statement is to provide financing to those small businesses who are otherwise unable to obtain traditional financing. And that really describes what our target market is. We're not here to compete with a bank. If you can get a bank loan, then you shouldn't be here. Even if you're doing an SBA 504 loan, the bank has to write a letter to SBA to say that they would not do that loan without SBA's assistance because of XYZ. So we really are here to, kind of fill in that gap for businesses that are unable to obtain traditional financing. And that might be because of their historical cash flow. That might be because they're a startup. That might be because they, don't even have their business plan together. It's those that just sort of fall short of those traditional framing of what their borrower looks like when you're talking about a bank or a credit union. I used to say that we have two ways to finance with Jedco, and we're about to expand that to say we have three ways to finance with Jedco. But right now we have our JedGrow loan program, and that is available to businesses within Jefferson Parish. They have to be located here. I would say of the two programs we have, that is much more flexible than the SBA loan program. It can be used for working capital, purchasing equipment, purchasing real estate. Typically, those loans are under $250,000. The rates on that, because everyone always asks, is anywhere from prime to prime plus 3, fixed for the term of the loan. The term of the loan is matched to the useful life of the collateral. We don't have minimum credit scores. Everyone asks that question, but you can't have any outstanding delinquencies. The 504 program, which is the reason I came to Jedco, we facilitate that loan program statewide. The way that typically works is that we partner with a bank. The bank is going to do 50% of your project. You're going to have a loan with them. SBA is going to come in and do 40% of your project. You're coming in with 10%. Bottom line, most of the time, we're able to offer less cash in from the business owner, and we're able to offer a lower fixed rate for the SBA piece. So, and it lessens the loan to value that the bank has, so they're willing to take a bit more risk. That's a loan program where we can have projects up to 20 million and sometimes even more. So that's, where we're getting into really some of the larger larger development projects, and we even have some that were used to purchase barges. So there are a lot of these sort of what a bank would call special purpose loans can be financed easily through the 504 loan program.
So you also alluded to a third program that we will be rolling out really soon. I'm really excited about this. I know that you are working with several different departments, including the marketing department on this, and we're really excited to be a part of that. Tell us a little bit about this third fund that is coming to Jefferson Parish soon.
Coming to your parish very soon. So the third loan program that I had alluded to is our Fisherman Fund. And this is something that we have been working on probably since I got here in 2017, is how do we address the needs of this industry in Jefferson Parish? And it kind of just came about because I had heard some folks in the community talking about it, the fact that the shrimpers had gone out on the first day of the season and they were unable to sell their catch at the docks. I might be kind of saying that wrong, but that's the general story is, they were like day one of the season, they were already sort of behind the eight ball. And as I kind of went further into that, talking with some industry folks, I have learned that commercial fishermen today don't make any more than they did in the 1970s. So what used to be a career that could support your family is now a career that puts you below the poverty line. I just think that's a real issue. One of JEDCO's focus industries was certainly food and beverage and commercial fishing. So I partnered with the strategic initiatives within JEDCO to say, what can we do about this? As a result of that, we're looking at our new loan program, the Fisherman Fund. And like I said, it's going to be specific to those, to the commercial fishing industry within Jefferson Parish. And I think the notable feature of that is that we're going to design a repayment system that matches to that industry's seasonality. And that's not something that's currently available. And when it is available, it's not usually done very well. So the fact that it's our fund that we're holding, we can be a little bit more flexible and have some control and really make it fit for that industry.
That's such an exciting project, such an exciting fund. When do we anticipate that? And I guess this might be a question that we don't really have an answer to, but we are looking at hopefully rolling that out this year, right?
Yes, we're hopefully right now we have a goal date of mid to late summer to have that rolled out and available and for us to start talking about it. There's always some hiccups that could come out, but that's what we're looking at right now.
I just want to say, because you've been with JEDCO just a couple of years, but in the time that you've been here, you've just sort of transformed the financing department. In 2 years, loans increased by 300%, which is insane. Like the number of loans increased by 300%. And that is a true testament to the work that you and your team do, a true testament to your leadership. So what were some of the things that you did when you started at JEDCO that really helped elevate the interest in these programs? I mean, clearly your passion is just one of those things that just sort of bleeds through into everything you do. And we'll talk about that too. But what did you do to get these programs to next level?
First, I realized that we have to let people know that JEDCO has loan programs. So there was a lot of sort of awareness at that initial stage, and then also to make those user friendly. So we have a lot of revolving loan funds so that, there's a lot of different sources that feed into our JEDCO program. And, we used to market them separately in this confusing graph of when you can use it and when you can't. So the first thing I did was sort of combine them all in one It's a Jed Grow loan program, and that's really all the end user needs to know. And then to make our, loans, loan checklists, loan applications, to make them a bit more user friendly, going from, 11-page application down to 2 pages, putting them online. As far as the 504 loan program, we spearheaded a fantastic SBA ad campaign. Not only the campaign itself, but the results were so impressive that it won a silver medal place.
The International Economic Development Council gave us a silver award for the paid advertising campaign.
You mentioned to me, that you hadn't really worked with finance before because they hadn't expressed a need for marketing. And now I take more of your time than you could have ever imagined.
No, I love that though. That you mentioned something about, that checklist whenever you first started here. I mean, I think a big piece of some of the work that you did was really educating me on how we can make these programs more accessible to people, because that wasn't something that I had before. I just think you're very clear and concise about these are the things that we want to push out into the world. And that really helped me as the marketing person for our organization have a better understanding of our target audience, the loan programs. I mean, it was just incredibly eye-opening just to even have somebody like you who took the time to educate me and help me get where I needed to be in order to help you promote these loans.
I think that we resulted in a fantastic ad campaign. I think that's where the traction was, to kind of get the word out about the 504 loan program. There's still such a sort of grassroots effort to start talking about it, but it's certainly spoken about more than when I started.
I'm really happy that there has been more of an effort in that area for sure. I know that marketing efforts and things like that have really drawn folks to Jedco, but I also want to talk about you as the director of finance in this organization, because the work that you do feels so personal. You take this very special interest in every borrower and every business that you work with, from helping them with their business strategy and their business plans to stopping by their venues and seeing how things are going. Like you told me once that you always go into the business and you don't just drive through, you actually go in and you want to see how everything is operating. So it's just clear that you love what you do and who you work with. And I don't know, it's the passion is there, and that speaks volumes to the work that you do and how you work with people. So I want to talk about what it is that drives you to go above and beyond with your work.
I don't like using trite expressions, but I will probably use them more than one time in our conversation. So I've always kind of had the idea of anything worth doing is worth doing right. My mom probably said that to me 100 times growing up. And I sort of more live by anything that's worth doing is worth doing really, really well and better than everyone else. So, I mean, that's kind of the base of it. But as far as, it is personal. I mean, and I take that very seriously because it's so personal to these business owners. There's not a big division line between a business owner and their business. Especially for the smaller businesses, the family owned. Take for example, if I have a loan application for a startup, and I'm taking it to the loan committee that day. If I'm having an off day or if I'm not giving it 100%, and their loan doesn't get approved, that's the difference between them becoming a small business owner and not becoming a small business owner. That's, changing the course of their life, of their livelihood. That's a lot to put on your shoulders. So I try not to think about it that way when I'm going in to talk about a loan request, but it's that important to me. So it is very personal. And like I said, I take that responsibility very seriously, and that just kind of comes out.
You see it in the way that you talk about these loans, but also the people who borrow from Jedco are the most grateful business owners I have ever met. Like every time I meet a business owner who has worked with you or who has borrowed from Jedco or who's gotten a loan through Jedco is just incredibly gracious and appreciative. Again, that is a real testament to you and your team for the just tremendous work that you do. So we're happy to have you.
Well, they kind of go, I think you had asked why did our loan volume go up? If I get a phone call, it's really easy to say to someone, well, that's not really the kind of loan we do. That's so easy. But to say, well, that could be something that we do. Let's take that further. Let's talk about how that can be a viable business. Let's bring in one of our partners, LSBDC, to help us with the business plan. And then, let's really promote and advocate for this business to come to Jefferson Parish. Let me bring this to our loan committee. That's a lot of work. It's a lot easier to say that's not really a loan that we would do. And sometimes it's tempting to say that, but especially when you have 20 voicemails that you have to return, but you can't approach it like that. And so I think that's where the appreciation might come in, because anyone else they called, and mostly financial institutions who don't really work with startups, they get a lot of, that's not the kind of loan we do.
And when we were early on trying to figure out the SBA 504 campaign, we were talking a lot about business owners being able to achieve their dreams. That's really kind of the whole like impetus behind this, is like being able to help business owners achieve that growth and achieve those dreams of business ownership or building ownership or whatever that case may be. And I love that.
And that's really the story, is the business owners.
Yeah. And I'll ask that question now, because we are going to be interviewing, this whole entire season is all about our borrowers and our finance programs. And so we're going to be interviewing a number of Jedco borrowers, and that I think it will be really valuable for our listeners. And I want to get your take on some of those success stories. Can you give us a preview of what we can expect from this season? I feel like it's going to be a lot of folks who are just incredibly gracious and who have been able to open their dream business or do something really cool because of Jedco. For
some of them, it's a life-changing story, because it really has sort of determined the next course of their life. For others, it's, they have expanded their business and have become more successful, either financially or as far as, the assets of their company have grown. Each story is sort of inspiring in and of itself. So I think that if someone's listening, they can probably find where they're at with their own business. If they are considering being a small business owner, or they currently are a small business owner, they can probably find a story that's similar to theirs to say, hey, I can do that easily. I can do that easily with one of Jedco's loan programs.
There you
Let's call Jennifer.
I love that. And I also want to mention that we lend to a lot of minority-owned and woman-owned businesses, something that is really, really important to Jedco, to Jefferson Parish community. Social equity is such an important piece of the Jefferson Edge 2025. Can you talk about the diversity of our portfolio a little bit?
Before we talk about our portfolio specifically, I just want to kind of go over just a couple of numbers. This is from an SBA report. So this is a national survey. This is not local. And it is from 2018, but they're sort of slow to report on things. So I can't imagine that these numbers have changed much in the right direction. It's from 2018 till now. And so it's just comparing the experience of white-owned firms, Black-owned firms, Hispanic-owned firms, and their experience with either obtaining financing or deciding to not obtain financing, and why that was. So for Black-owned firms that are startups, so that means they've been in business for less than 2 years, 70% of them did not apply for the loan that they needed because they did not think they would be approved by their lender. that is a startling number to me. That is a start. I mean, overall, all startup firms are kind of at the 50% mark, but to 70% is such a great majority that didn't even apply for a loan because they didn't think that they could qualify. When we do look at the ones that have applied, were they given what they needed, what they requested and what they needed? These numbers talk about the firms who did not receive the amount of money they requested. And over half of the Black-owned firms did not receive the amounts that they requested. Whereas if you look at all of the firms combined, it's 25%. That is a number that is disturbing. Basically, this report is 57 pages of saying that Black-owned firms experience a higher incidence of loan denials and they pay higher interest rates than white-owned firms. And sort of the Asian and Hispanic-owned firms fall within there. A number that, like I said, it is startling. But I can say that is not what we're doing here at Jedco. That study didn't pull in woman-owned firms, but I think that is a number that needs to be addressed. So if you look at Jedco's portfolio, 25% of our portfolio are loans funded to minority-owned businesses, and a third of the portfolio is to women-owned businesses. And this past year, 40% of our approved loans for this year were from minority-owned and controlled and operated. And when I use those words specifically because it's not like, well, we have one partner that's a minority, so we put them as 51%. These are truly minority and women-owned, operated, and controlled companies. The SBA report, those numbers certainly bother me, but I hope that we are creating an environment at Jedco where those borrowers are not discouraged from coming and requesting a loan and, aren't held back by the fact that they may not get approved. That's a process that we want to make very open to all the businesses in Jefferson Parish.
Yeah. I mean, we're already making such strides in that and moving in that and continuing to move in that direction is just really, it's exciting to hear that we are doing such a good job in those areas and that we can only go up. I mean, that's really great. Let's talk about what it's like to get a loan through Jedco. So what is the process? What kind of info should people have when they come to us for financial support? And I know this is pretty like getting down into the nitty-gritty details, but I think a lot of people who are listening to this show might hear all this great stuff and be like, I want a loan through Jedco. How do I do it?
No, absolutely. If there is anyone listening to this still at this point other than my parents, then here we go. If I were a small business owner, no matter if I were in a stage where I simply have a business idea, or if I were in a stage where I had an existing business, I would start at our website. It's easy to sort of guide yourself through to obtain the loan checklist and to obtain the forms that you need. If you're an existing business, then really all you're going to do is sort of gather that information because it's all financial data that you have at hand, and you're going to email that to us, or you can drop it off in person. But if you're a startup business, I would certainly start at the Jedco website so that you can see our checklist. We have one that's specifically for startups because we ask for a few more things. We need to see your business plan, and we need to see your projections. What are you projecting that you will make, and what are you projecting that your expenses will be? This is not something that I expect someone with a business idea to be able to create all on their own. But I would say, do not pay for it. Please do not pay for it. I hear about people paying thousands of dollars for these things, and it's crazy. And quite frankly, they're not even that good. But if you also go to our partner, Louisiana Small Business Development Center, they are amazing. They provide the service for free, and we work with them frequently, so they're very familiar with what we would be looking for as far as a loan package. And that's really the process.
You make it sound really easy, but I mean, I think it's exciting to know that it's as simple as just looking at our website and then making a connection and reaching out and just seeing what we can do, because there are a lot of things that Jedco can do that people probably didn't know we could do.
Right. And if it's not something that we can do either with our economic development team or our finance team, like I said, pulling in our partner of LSBDC with that business plan and the projections, their assistance with that's really all you need. I've said to more than one person, if you don't want to start a business, don't come to Jedco because we're going to start it for you.
I love that. That's amazing. And I love that you mentioned the LSBDC too, because that group is absolutely fantastic in so many different ways. And they've been a great partner to Jedco, not just with the financing piece, but in so many areas of work. And so I love that you gave them a shout out. That's fantastic. You are a tremendous leader. You're well loved by your team. You're well loved by the people that you work with. We've talked about this several times throughout this podcast. Can you offer some advice to young women seeking to grow in their careers?
I could probably do an entire podcast of advice based on, things I've done wrong and things I've learned in my 20-ish years of working. So I would say the best piece of advice I could give to a young professional woman would be to seek out a mentor. I had two women during my career that acted as a mentor to me, and that was, I would say, career changing. It really, sort of was able to advance me into the next place. They acted as my advocate when I needed them to. They taught me everything they know. Personally, it's my last sort of career goal is to play that role for somebody else. If you can seek out someone like that to kind of advocate for you, teach you what they know, give you the ins and outs, it's sort of like a fairly intense relationship. So it's probably someone that you're going to speak to at least once a day. If that is available to you, I would say that's the best thing that you could do.
That is fantastic advice. And kind of sticking with that advice theme, what is the best advice that you have for borrowers?
So to be an attractive loan candidate, there's 3 things that you can do right now today. And that is 1, stop spending, 2, start saving, and 3, get your credit checked. So the first 2 lead to the same result. Basically, you need to hoard your cash because that's an important piece. How much cash are you coming to the table with? I hate this disgusting term, but it's how much skin in the game do you have? And then getting your credit checked is sort of the other piece of that. You need to know what your credit is. You have to know if you have anything that you can correct. If you have to know if you have any items that you can dispute. Because while that's not the driver for a lot of small business lending, although sometimes it is the only driver, it's certainly something that they're going to take into consideration. So save your money, hoard your money, get your credit score up.
Is there anything that I missed, anything that you want to add before I let you go?
So we just established a new email sort of Dropbox for our new loan requests. It's really simple. It's loans@jedco.org, LOANS@jedco.org.
We will include that in the show notes and on the blog so that people can find that easily. And Jennifer, this has been, I love working with you, love working alongside you. And it's been really, really, really great to spend this time talking about all of the great work that you do for Jedco and in our community. Thank you for being here.
Back at you, Kelsey.
A special thanks to Jennifer for taking time out of her busy schedule to be on the show. We will share links to the Jedco financing options and the Jedco website in our show notes. If this is your first time tuning into the show, there are plenty more episodes where this one came from. Our episodes are released on Thursdays on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, and anywhere else you stream your favorite shows. If you like our show, feel free to leave us a rating or a review. Those reviews help others find our show and listen in. We share links to all of our episodes on our social media platforms. Be sure to follow us on Twitter and Instagram at jedco_news and on Facebook at Jefferson Parish Economic Development. You can also visit our website at jedco.org. If you have feedback about the show or if you'd like to recommend a guest, please email me at ksgram@jedco.org. I love to hear from you. As always, thank you so much for listening. See you back here next week.